I mean, they're not going to have any followers soon. I mean, it is really coming down to that day to where their base is leaving. Why? Because they go for the okey doke every time. You know, it's nice that the White House apologized, but at the same time, why did it take them so long to apologize for being tremendously gullible? But, you know, the NAACP apologized immediately. They did not let it go another day. But I guess this is around the time the White House wanted to do their research. Nice, and late. They didn't have to do any research whatsoever because they took the white man's word for it and fired the woman. They didn't call her, they didn't ask her anything. I mean, how weak is that? So, I mean, even though the Obama administration apologizes, it's kind of too little too late. Man, any one of us can get fired, especially if you're black. Man, I'm talking this dude is, man, Barack Obama and the Democrats, God, they're literally afraid of Glenn Beck. I mean, this is a chalkboard writing, drawn arrows everywhere, complete idiot of Fox News. No one, except for stupid Tea Party leaders, takes this guy seriously. But to absolutely find out that the Democratic administration of the United States are afraid that this guy who writes on chalkboards that Jon Stewart has made a complete joke of, they take him more seriously than all the rest of us. Takes him more seriously than the Young Turks, Stephen Colbert, Jon Stewart, and Calvary is here. Huffington Post, all of them. They're afraid of Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck. You are afraid of Glenn Beck? Man, if that is not disgraceful, I mean, it's like Superman being afraid of a crackhead who's wearing about 65 different skull caps, and the crackhead is looking at Superman like, Superman, I'm gonna take your cape. Well, that's what's going on here. Glenn Beck is just a glorified crackhead sitting up there with a piece of chalk, and they are scared of this guy, trembling in fear. Amazing. But let's start right here with the NAACP and Roland Martin. Now, what happened was, again, Fox put out this lie, this grievous lie. And the NAACP, as well as Roland Martin, jumped on it instantly. They actually took the word of Fox News, a bunch of racist white people, a bunch of racist Republicans, a bunch of, Tea Party supporters, and they took their word as if it was law. They took their word as if it was the truth. I mean, I don't understand what's going on with these black people. It seems as if, Roland Martin, been a commentator for a little bit there, but it seems like their white bosses feed them basically diamond covered boo boo, and Fox News watches it. They eat it wholeheartedly like it's tacos or something. And so they just report back anything that Fox News tells them like it's the truth. I mean, they're under Fox's spell, and it's unbelievable. Now, there was a time in which black people would hear what white people had to say, and they would be like, I don't believe it. I have to hear it from the horse's mouth first. I have to hear from my fellow black person first. But now, much like Whoopi Goldberg, white is right. Whatever they're doing, it doesn't matter. They're going to go with the white person's version of it versus the black person's version. So here we have, in this case, it's an African American woman. She did everything she was supposed to do, and she did it right. And she did it right 24 years ago, before she took this job. 24 years. Now, her father was killed by the Klan, the KKK. And they're busy running around calling, Fox News now is busy running around calling all these black people racist for doing the right thing. for helping out all the races. But their campaign cannot be successful unless they have a bunch of fools, a bunch of patsies who are willing to go ahead and gobble it up and not ask a single question, not do a single piece of research. Now, I find it very odd that I do more research than Roland Martin and the NAACP. So, my prescription to the NAACP is, and Roland Martin, my prescription for Roland Martin and the NAACP is simple. NAACP, you're going to have to learn how to research. I don't know who's on your research staff. I don't know, if it's a bunch of African American women, just know that they don't research anything. They kind of just go with whatever instinct or whatever the sisterhood or whatever in the playbook. They just go along with that, and all they have to do is just say it loud enough, and they believe it's true. So you may want to replace your research staff with somebody who can do the job. Look, people, understand, nerds are here for a reason. They're the smart people. They're here to do the research. Don't sit up there with a bunch of cool guys and a bunch of cool women thinking that they're going to do that job. You have to have people whose brains are geared towards that type of work. And you just can't put a bunch of jocks in charge of that. So think about that. Roland Martin, man, you are going to have to apologize quickly because your career is about to go down in flames. You're going to be just like those people in Hotel Rwanda who could not take Don Cheadle's leadership, and they had to wait for a letter from the white man in order for them to move a single inch. That's pathetic. That's slave mentality. And that's what you have, Roland Martin. You have a slave mentality, and you have essence of African American woman all up in your brains. Because if you can't find a way to apologize, way better than that crappy letter that you wrote for doing something so silly, something that shouldn't have even been in your DNA, to go ahead and take a bunch of racist Republicans' word over someone who has such a great history. All you have to do is make a phone call. She's right. All you have to do is make a phone call. NAACP, they figured it out. They're like, all we have to do is make a phone call. This is embarrassing. And they're going to totally be absolved of any guilt because they did it the right way. They apologized quickly and fell on their sword. Black people, there's nothing wrong with apologizing when you did something wrong. Now, the right, Breitbart, he's done. That idiot is done. There's nothing more that he can say. He effed up too high up the food chain. Barack Obama, you need some guts, man. People have a problem believing you because with the health care bill, you ran out there talking about you needed 60 votes when you needed 50. And we don't forgive you for that. That's silly. Ain't nobody gonna follow that madness. You all are seriously, I'm talking about a day away from losing your base. You know, you're not a Harold Washington, man. You know, Harold Washington was a strong leader. If you're taking your P's and Q's from Fox News, you are a weak leader. No way around it. We're already, we have not forgotten that you're sitting up there telling us how great it is to offshore drill. That's not the liberal position. We don't want the whole world destroyed for money. That's a Republican ideal. But you keep going your own way. Keep hip bumping them Republican presidents. You're just going to be a dang embarrassment, man. There's no way around it. And just to hear the fact that you all are like, well, now the facts have changed, only points to the fact that, again, you all believe that Fox News is actually factual. And that is seriously embarrassing. So, black people, get your minds straight and start protecting each other. Call first. Okay, now look at Van Jones, for instance. This guy was forced to resign, early in the Barack Obama administration. They couldn't protect this guy, and this guy has insane credentials. Now, just listen to it. This is Van Jones. Van Jones, an American environmental advocate, civil rights activist, and attorney, co-founded 3 nonprofit organizations, In 1996, he founded the Ellen Baker Center for Human Rights, a California non-governmental organization working for alternatives to violence. In 2005, he co-founded A Color of Change, an advocacy group for African Americans. In 2007, he founded Green for All, a national NGO dedicated to building inclusive green economy strong enough to lift people out of poverty.